Alright, time for the final showdown against, again, the mysterious big mother ship, whatever, that was also in the movie.
Showdown.
Well, I'm at the very least grateful that this game is short.
Oh, by the way,
It really is.
So here's another thing that clashes with the ending. You remember how in the ending it pretty much came down to the ship on ship? Well, now for this ending, there's all of a sudden a new buttload of ships now coming.
Yeah, not just that, you also have an entire fleet to go against it.
Like, they're not even trying to even line up with the plot of the game. Like, it's amazing how the story pretty much tries doing adaptation in all the worst ways possible.
To give them credit, Jova, considering how bad the movie is, can you really blame them?
Well, that's the thing, though, Pedro. Counterpoint, they didn't really do anything to improve it, in that sense. Like, if you want to change it, improve it, but this isn't improving it. This is just making it more nonsensical.
Oh shit. I mostly agree with what Angry Joe said. I mostly sympathize with what Double Helix said, because, again, we probably had a mandate from Activision to make the game in, like, couple of months tops and make it functionable, presentable, and workable to be sold for $60. So, and keep in mind, even if it was composed by veterans, at that point, Double Helix did not have much under their resume, nor much that was considerably, you know, ostensibly good. So, in a way, I can understand that we couldn't deliver a 100% product, and like I said, mind you, the way this game actually functions and renders, it still could have been way, way worse. It still makes it mediocre at the very end. I still wouldn't consider this game good. But to be the worst thing that has ever happened, not really. Its major fault, like I said, it's just the fact that it was also sold for $60 at launch. That is actually unexcusable.
I don't think people were calling this like the worst thing ever when it came out.
Well, okay.
This looks like the most generic thing ever made.
Okay. I have to think, like, considering there was like plenty of other better options at this time.
Like I said, yeah, true. And remember, like I said, it came out around the same time as Diablo 3 and Max Payne 3. Mind you, you have to remember, regardless of what actually happened with those games. Yeah, Max Payne 3
it came out around the same time Sonic 4 Episode 2 then.
Oh, great. Diablo 3, if you don't remember, at the launch was extremely bugged, particularly with its error 47, meaning that a lot of people could not play it. But as a game on its own, if you actually manage to make it function, which happened eventually, you know, it was still technically the core Diablo experience at the very end. So you actually got what your bucks purchased in some way. Again, these should have costed no more than $20, but
I think that is.
Sorry. For a second, I thought that heavy breathing was from someone in the chat.
No, Dweebs. It's usually you that I can hear mostly breathing the mic. Don't worry.
Well, Tio, I think you pretty much brought up the big point why people would have hated this game, though. $60 for this game, you bet people have a right to complain.
Which is why I think judging today, taking into consideration what has happened, still judging today as a game, you know, without technically that stigma for the actual marketing, but still counting it for, you know, a final judgment per se.
It's
how
bad.
does the game fare? How it performs? You know, how it's composed? What's the contents inside it? And like I said, I can still say that it's mediocre, but not really nor the worst licensed game for that matter. The Terminator Salvation video game is arguably 10 times worse, if you ask me.
Is Aliens Colonial Marines worse than this?
Okay, Aliens Colonial Marines has more content, technically, and probably a better story, but it has been constantly extremely buggy. Gearbox refused to patch in a lot of things. It did patch some things, like, say, the AI collision, for example, but it wasn't that much. And they actually did release a DLC that helped fix some part of the stories, so some parts of the story, my bad. But at the end of the day, I guess in a technical way, you got more content for what you paid for that game compared to this. So in a way, I guess yes, to answer your question, Dej. But it's still, like, not that much of an improvement. It's just for different reasons.
I recently found out the reason why the game was so bugged in the first place.
Because Gearbox was not known had probably to hastily code poorly and they put a typo.
I'm gonna just put it like
just one letter.
I will just put it like.
This, I don't know if it's been brought up before, but at this point, wasn't the movie over by now?
It's around the same time of the climax, supposedly, but...
I get
what was with the USS Missouri, then?
Yeah,
it's
I
Missouri
mean...
in there. Ever been to Missouri?
It actually has been... Okay, to answer your question, Dave, it has been afloat for a couple of missions by now. So again, like Jova mentioned, we have diverged from the canonicity a long time ago, actually.
I'm gonna put it like this to you. I do get that maybe Double Hooks couldn't have done the best they could, but I would still consider this game absolutely bad. Like, it does not deliver any of the great things you would expect from something called Battleship. In regards to the run and gun stuff, it's a mediocre Call of Duty. Mediocre at best, pretty bad at worst. And then with the Battleship stuff, well, if you can even really call that substance, it's over before it even really begins, honestly.
Seriously, you can breeze through those battles in like 5 seconds. And
trust me, the $60 price point only accentuates the negative here and there. And yeah, I get it nowadays, but we have to take into account what it was sold for back then. $60, bad. Bad game. It doesn't do anything right as far as I'm concerned. It can't even tell a good story. And yeah, I get it. It had to be based off of the Battleship stuff, but if they were going to diverge this much stuff, they could have tried to have at least made an interesting story, like get us to care about whoever we're playing as. I can't be bothered to remember his name and why
Kich's character.
No. I'm talking about the guy we're playing as right now.
Oh, like... I don't think he even has a name, the Jova. He's generic Marine number 137.
Who, for some reason, suddenly gets command of the battleships, even though he's a land
and like
Marine.
I said, yeah, not just land Marine Jova. He's supposed to be explosive, specialized expert. So this is not even supposed to be his field of job.
So I wonder, I mean, okay, if you had to diverge, that's fine, I understand, but tell a good story. They don't, so it feels like they didn't care themselves about this. Like, maybe they were mandated or something, but what they turned in was pretty bad. Granted, who knows, maybe a What Happened episode will help shine light on how, oh no, they actually really wanted to do some amazing things, but then Activision being Activision mandated, no, do this instead. I mean, I'll admit, I wouldn't be too surprised if it was Activision that mandated that this had to be a poor man's Call of Duty clone, because again...
It sadly doesn't help that a lot of... I tried to search a couple of info for this game, but I couldn't. So knowing about much of the actual reception and the development cycle is a bit sketchy.
But it's like, man, this game is just dismal. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's one of the worst things out there or anything, but it's definitely bad. Like, I mean, can you name one thing that this game does right that's not just, a simple decency that you would expect from a game to do? Like, something that actually would help one consider this game to be good.
The Pirates of the Caribbean.
I've got nothing.
Like, I mean, look.
Like I said, even the score does not make the game justice. There are one or two pieces that stand maybe a bit out, but nothing you will be humming on your own.
I mean, it's not like this game's like... I mean, if we're comparing games of a similar generation that came out around a similar time, it's not like this game's like Right to Hell Retribution or anything.
Oh God, no! It's bad, but it's not that bad.
Mediocre and it's just incredibly mediocre and extremely unremarkable, and like this will probably make very little impression on anybody, aside from probably being part of the reason that maybe the film didn't do that well in the States because they were giving away tickets.
Right to Retribution also has also the problem of not having to be an actual original IP and not being attached to an existing property. Usually licensed games tend to have the stigma, this particular stigma properly because of their own nature. Again, had to be developed in short amount of time, you know, had to be attached to a movie or a TV release, you know, had to be licensed to a developer mostly that doesn't know what to do and for with a cheaper budget. But Retro Retribution had kind of none of that.
And regrettably,
Guys,
the game was made in Britain.
Yes,
Dad.
The way the guy pulls out his phone and whatnot,
It's not a phone.
and uses it as a map.
Uh-huh.
It's like a Sheikah slate from Breath of the Wild. Oh my god!
The Sheikah slate. Okay, last I checked, the Sheikah slate is not like doesn't have like a bendable cover. It's just a simple tablet.
Yeah. The Sheikah slate is way wider as well, and besides, and the Sheikah slate
also
looks
it has
more
like
like
a
Switch.
vertical design instead of horizontal.
The Sheikah slate looks more like a Nintendo Switch in handheld mode, honestly, than that tablet thing.
I'd say the first half of a 3DS or DS.
Well, I mean, the game actually they came out the same year as the Wii U.
So what you're saying, Dez, is that in reality, the military copied Nintendo's DS technology since this is 2012 at the time.
Does this mean that, well, actually, no, this game does not have Ubisoft towers. So.
No.
Okay. So here's
honestly, a sort of an open world kind of game where you actually have to recapture the Hawaiian Islands and actually defeat the titular battleships of the alien. I could actually see more of that happening, but again, had to be rushed with the budget of a tuna sandwich, you know, to a developer that had not much experience under its belt.
There's another problem with this game that, funnily enough, I'll admit, for as many problems as I often have with licensed games, this is a problem that is more with this game than a lot of other ones I've seen here. There's absolutely no sense of rising stakes. Like, oh, don't get me wrong. Stuff like 4 God of Thunder was bad, but at least I could get the sense of the stakes rising as we got near the end of it. Hell, even the Incredible Hulk did up the ante with the schemes of that cartoonishly evil government here and there.
It just forgot to resolve those
Oh my god, the camera.
Beautiful.
But this game, though, there is no sense of higher end scale here and there. You're pretty much just doing the same thing over here and there. The music doesn't even really help giving you a better sense of bigger scale or anything. It's like, let me put it like this. The mood does not feel like it changes at all from start to finish. Mind you, that is one thing even the movie did kinda managed to do, was at least give a sense of, you know, how much the mood changed,
basic
how desperate
structure.
things were getting. Yeah, basic structure, which even this game's story can't do. Like, honestly, at this point, you have to wonder if there was even a point of having a story. Oh wait, no, the story is pretty much the only thing to do in this $60 game.
Again, not even a multiplayer mode. You'd think that will happen, you know, with different ships battling against each other, but no, you don't even get that.
Sorry, Taylor, we don't have time to put that in.
Even Homefront had a multiplayer, you know, like...
And then,
I don't understand.
Sorry, Taylor, by the time we finished the single player campaign, we only had like a month to ship this game, so we
again 4 hours.
Imagine
and mind you, I'm playing on normal mode. Like, it's not even like easy where you can say, oh, you're just breezing through because the game is PC. No, and playing at the intended balanced difficulty that the developers wanted me to play.
Honestly, imagine paying $60 for this game back in the day.
So, Teo, on the topic of licensed movie tie-in games, so basically, Teo, this is what, this is basically the game that most likely on the Genesis should have turned out like, basically, considering the circumstances.
Kinda.
Seriously,
basically.
What is up with those stupid
It's more hilarious.
angles?
It's more hilarious considering apparently a lot of developers in Double Helix were people who actually left Interplay and David Perry's team.
Decimated in... wow, did you see that? The clock didn't even start before you decimated that enemy.
That's because that's the actual Missouri Jova. It's actually the more overpowered of a ship, if you notice. It actually has three batteries of the cannons.
So
Where's this ship from? back then, more.
Because in the movie it was the trump card of the humans.
That's the thing, though. I can't believe I'm giving the movie credit. The movie, it did not have it be some OP ship here. They still did have to think outside the box.
They did a fucking drift by just dropping an anchor.
Oh, well, yes.
That's some Fast and Furious shit.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. But my point is, like, it wasn't like the Missouri could immediately curb stomp the mothership or something. They did have to think outside the box. And yes, they used completely nonsensical moves that should not work at all, but at least it was just more than, oh, shoot them until they go down, or shoot them in literally a second here. And
besides, Liam Neeson's character basically ended up saving the day anyway. So, like I said in the commentary, their intervention, what the Missouri was trying to do was basically pointless in the end because Liam Neeson would have saved the day anyway.
Well, okay, to be fair, technically the Missouri was the one that managed to disable the shield so that Liam Neeson could save the day.
I don't remember specifically. Okay, the excuse that I can buy is that like they bought time for Liam Neeson's forces to arrive.
No,
but
okay. Remember. The Missouri ends up taking out that one bit that is conjuring up the shield that's keeping
the dome.
Yeah, Neeson's fleet out. So technically, the Missouri did do that. No. The thing was like, well, they were trying to decide whether or not they should fire on the mothership that one last time, or fire on the place where his girlfriend may be because of their limited options. It was Liam Neeson's fleet coming in to help save the day that made things easier for them.
Anyway, we're actually near towards the final boss. You may notice on the map of the grid of the battleship that there is a large red square that we don't know what it is for. Obviously, it's gonna be the big bad main ship. So we're about to actually reach the moment where we take it down.
You know.
Also, this being the final level, of course, the game throws everything in a kitchen sink. But if you know how to counter these aliens, you know what to do. Because despite what I still agree with what Angry Joe also said. Out of the weapons, we only have like two that are really useful, like the railgun sniper rifle and the alien standard machine gun. But I do agree that the shotgun is good for taking out the big mooks, but that makes it only situational. But still, the game tries to throw everything in kitchen sink, but I argue it's less of a chore than in others' products. But go on, Joseph.
God, he's lost for words for one.
Wait, hold on. Now I remember what I was going to say.
To be fair, there's not much to say. Go on.
You know, it's funny that there's no multiplayer mode. You know what would have been piss easy to include in this game? A video game version of the board game of Battleship. Like,
I am surprised that FPS in the year 2012 did not have a multiplayer mode.
Alright, let's move on.
Yeah, exactly. If it takes two.
Oh yeah, I just realized something actually. 2012.
You just said screw it, huh?
2012 was actually a pretty bad year for Activision FPSs in general. There was this, and there was 007 Legends.
To answer your question, Dejimon, I'm just speeding up because the final boss consists in you essentially be stalling while your main ship, the one that you can control, actually gets ready, and then you have to actually open up essentially the weak spot of the big ship, so you can actually have a 1-to-1 round between your big ship and the enemy big ship, but you can only take a chunk of health. Basically, the fight is structured so you have to do an endurance round on the ground, then you have to put up one of your ship on a specific point so you open up the weak spot, and then chip away part of the health of the big ship. Repeat it like 3 times and you're done.
My ship is bigger than yours.
The actual super boss theme from Assassin's Creed 4. Assassin's Creed 4 introduces super boss enemy vessel ships that you can actually have an encounter and trying to pillage. It's actually an interesting way to incorporate an actual encounter for a game like that. But it's very, very interesting, especially how they play with those. particularly with the most powerful one, El Impoluto. Yes, Wibs?
I'm gonna check. I'm checking now, actually, if this game is still available on the Xbox Store.
No, I don't think so. Remember, if a company Activision loses kind of the license, the game has to be delisted immediately.
Yes, it is available, actually.
Oh my god, it is.
Yes, it is. Well.
Oh, wait. Actually, no, cancel that. It's a Battleship board video game from Ubisoft that costs £4.63.
Son of a gun! Right. Oh my god! So what you're telling me is that literally the thing I said should have been an extra mode in this game is its own.
Jova, because now we're about to get the ending, actually. Shit!
God damn camera angle!
All right, here we go. So the enemy ship blows up. Hopefully.
And yeah, like I said, just like in the movie, that's how the dome was released.
Let me guess. This we see this and cut the credits.
Hold on. There's Liam Neeson's airplanes, jets, doing the carpet bombing.
God, I can barely see anything with this stupid lens flare.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make a JJ. I'm just joking. Done.
And Pedro is right. Cut to credits.
I knew it.
Oh wow!
This is it. Okay. Dare I ask final thoughts?
That was a game.
That was crap.
Let me just finish off. Like, for those who may have not seen our Aladdin playthrough or know about it, basically the people who made the Aladdin game on the Mega Drive, they only had like a few months to make the game, basically. Which is why I was making the comparison to this one.
Go on.
So yeah, final thoughts, Jova.
It's crap. It's terrible. I mean, maybe I could write it off as mediocre if it costed like $10. But, no! For what they gave us and for charging it at $60, it's a terrible game. There's literally only one mode. They couldn't be bothered to include a mode that was literally just, board game Battleship, which, as Dwips just mentioned, is actually an Ubisoft game. So Ubisoft probably made a better Battleship game than Activision.
Probably because we just stuck with the classic.
The story doesn't even try in this game. The visuals do not even try in this game. Nothing feels like it's trying in this game. As for the on-foot gameplay, it is some of the most lackluster Call of Duty nonsense I've seen. And for what should be the main attraction, the battleships themselves, they are pretty much resorted to just button mashing. You're literally mashing buttons. Congrats. It's the equivalent of your typical mobile game. God damn.
I take offense, Joe, because there are mobile games that are infinitely more better than
hence why I said typical mobile game, not all of them.
Sure, go on.
But this, you curb stomp enemies like there's no tomorrow, essentially. There's pretty much no challenge from that, and it's easy to pretty much, maneuver the system and the on-foot gameplay stuff in there. There's no sense of change or pace or mood shifts in the story here. You're pretty much just doing the same thing over and over again. Oh sure, yeah, technically you're not hunting down bombs, except you might as well be, because now you're just hunting down radio signal towers and shutting those down as opposed to the bombs.
Thank you for keeping me company all the late shifts. Oh, this game had crunch.
Would not surprise me. Look. I don't know if this is all Double Helix's fault. With Activision being involved, I'm willing to bet it was not all their fault. But
I can tell you this, the future proved that Double Helix, was an actual competent developer, that if you actually gave the right time and money, can produce good results.
That said, though, the fact that nothing in this game works, though, does tell me that something must have been going on. 'Cause, Jesus Christ, I legit mean it. Nothing in this game works. It may function properly, but it doesn't work to give you a fun time. And you know what? If someone managed to you know, beat the Herculean task of managing to have fun with this game, you have my respect. All the more power to you, because, look, I'm able...
Actually, let me... Go on, I'm checking something in the meantime.
Like, I'm able to have fun with what a lot of people consider mundane or lackluster, but this is beyond my limit. And again, $60 for this. No. Just... no. It's a travesty, and one that deserves to sink to the bottom of the ocean. Next!
The Dweebs, though.
Yeah, it's not a good game at all. I mean, what did I expect from something based off a movie like Battleship?
I mean, at least with the Bayformers games, they managed to make fun stuff out of those movies.
More like Battleship, am I right?
No, I mean, at least in those games, the Transformers are limited like 10-second button mashing segments.
True.
The main problem with this game is it tries to do a lot of things, but it doesn't do any of them well at all.
Does it try to do a lot? It feels like just 2 things, honestly.
Well, but there might be a lot by some people's standards, maybe.
Maybe.
But I mean, there's nothing really here that's in any way appealing. It's play good. It doesn't look even run good half the time. And you'd think by 2012 people would have figured out what works for these kinds of consoles. But no, we're still struggling with that apparently.
Alas.
Lifespan of 7th gen. And yeah, I mean, well, I could no wonder people didn't bother buying the game. There's plenty of because A, there's plenty of other options, and B, you know things are bad, but not even a free ticket can convince people to buy a game.
Yeah.
And actually, even if people did buy the game, wouldn't that kind of wouldn't that kind of hurt the movie even more?
No, Debs, remember, Debs, a sale of this game is also profitable for the movie company, because, you know, movie tie-in and shit, merchandise, so technically, yeah, it will still be profitable.
And yet, even with all of that, it didn't work.
I can tell you that this game did not sell well.
Well, gee, I wonder.
My faith in humanity is maintained, then.
Well, I mean, sometimes people do go out bad games, whether unintentionally.
Yeah, just look at us.
The adverts look cool.
Actually, me, Dej.
Yeah, Tio. Yeah, that's a thing. Well, actually, I did try and look up this game only to find a Ubisoft game.
Probably a better game, Liz.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I'm probably not going to spend the £5 on it, but still.
I guess we can't be too careful, seeing as how Ubisoft managed to screw up Tetris.
Well, I mean, hey, I mean, at least, actually, no, I don't think the localization
Special thanks to the Hasbro people.
Special thanks to the United
I'm sure
States
they appreciate
Navy.
what you've
Navy
done with
Public
their
Affairs support elements, okay. Also, Industrial Light and Magic?
What?
Really?
Well, they're the ones that did the special effects for the game, right? For the movie, sorry, for the movie.
But apparently they were involved in the game.
The thing is that the game doesn't use actual cutscenes from the movie. Instead, it uses recreation of that.
So...
But whatever. Go on, Dweebs.
Nah, that's about it, really. It's good at all.
Dej.
So, I have to say that this game didn't frustrate me or bore me. I just thought, it's another FPS.
I'm amazed that this game didn't bore you in that regard.
Dude, nothing will ever make me be as bored as Haze.
Okay.
I will get back at you.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a mediocre game. I didn't have much expectations because it's a tie-in to a movie that we don't like and people didn't see. Because what's the first thing you think of? Battleship, you know, actual ships, more a tactical game. Instead, you just made a FPS, and not even an interesting one. It's just somehow blander than the Conduit.
Wow.
I mean, that from what you told us, the Conduit has kind of a batshit insane premise anyway. So
And the sequel. Well, I got nothing. But you know, Tio, since we just finished a Ubisoft, Hasbro game, I think we should do another Hasbro game.
The G.I. Joe one, it was also done by Double Helix.
No, Power Rangers.
You have to be a bit more specific.
Battle for the Grid.
Also, Double Helix, I appreciate telling me that thank you for playing, but it wasn't really worth it.
Thank you for providing a roof over our heads.
For the record, I searched in the meantime just because for information, because it's been actually a while since I recorded this. No, I did not platinum this because the purpose that I'm missing is finishing the game in hard mode and collect, yes, they're actually collectibles, my mistake, I forgot they were, actual pegs. Basically, the collectibles in this game are in the form of the pegs of the actual Battleship video game, but they serve no other purpose other than bragging rights, essentially.
Lovely.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. You're done, Dej?
Mm-hmm.
Pedro.
This is exactly another one of those farts of a game that happens. It's unpleasant, but you forget about it immediately after you're done. So I don't really have anything else to say about it because I literally don't remember a single goddamn thing from this game. So.
Okay.
Even if I wanted to talk about it, I could not for the life of me do it because I don't. What I just saw was a blur. I couldn't even for the life of me identify anything identifiable. This is literally genericness incarnate. So, like. I will say this, Deji. Like, I really wish you would have joined us for Mortal Kombat Special Forces because that game was boring.
Yes, it was.
But anyway.
Though I guess it does depend on which was more boring, that or this. Because I might actually prefer.
That was.
I'm gonna argue that Battleship was more boring because, like I said, there's literally no sense of growing tension at all. You're literally doing the same thing over and over. At least with Special Forces, there was some sense of tensions rising and scenarios changing, and you finally making your way up to defeat Kano. Here, the ending pretty much ends
like
before it properly ends.
Not that the ending of Special Forces is much better, but yeah, I see your point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. Those are my final thoughts. Teo.
Well put.
Alright, B2, B3, and B4. Damn, anyway, no, as for the game itself, like I mentioned multiple times, it's bad, but thankfully it's not that completely unsalvageable. Like, if you're really, really that desperate, like one day and you have nothing else to do, you might want to try to speedrun through this.
I've legit seen this game go for $1.99 nowadays, so yeah, go ahead.
No, Joe, remember it's Dark Void, the one that's being sold like that. But otherwise, there's only an interest if you have a remote shadow morbid curiosity, like I had. Again, like I said, I mostly known this game thanks to Angry Joe's review back in the day. I think it's near 10 years. Well, maybe next year it's like 10 years, but still. So I was actually curious to try it myself. And I can tell you this, it's an experience for what it's worth. Otherwise, it's more shallow. It manages to be more shallow than the movie's based on. But like I said, I mostly sympathize with Double Helix, and thankfully, later on, they managed to actually produce better games. Sadly, again, this is just mediocre. There's not much variety, no multiplayer, no worthwhile extra. It's very short, and like Pedro said, you forget about it. It says something that the main appeal was for the American audience to get an extra free coupon directly printed into the paper of the cover, not even a sticker.
Boy, you mean to tell me that on top of playing this crappy mediocre game, I get to watch a shitty movie?
Well, you see, it turns out you'll need to say. Well, don't you see, young Pedro? You'll need to see the movie to understand a lick of what's going on in the game, even though the game will itself contradict that.
Still, whatever. It's again an experience that, much like the movie, it's something that we can pass by. Mind you, we might want to take a look at the Wii version in a future time, because again, like instead Dark Lord Jaddo's review showcased, that game seems to actually have a bit more spine onto it, as in an actual story mode, supposedly with dialogues, and a more competent gameplay. But that has to be still yet to see. So who knows? Otherwise, see you for whatever we do next.
See you then.
See ya.